Chapter 3. The Quiet Years. 2 years later. Planet Vegeta never truly knew peace. Every morning began the same way. The distant roar of military transports echoed across the capital. Scouters chirped as patrols assembled for deployment. The clang of armored boots rang through the streets as warriors returned from one campaign while others departed for another. Even inside the mid-class district, the smell of scorched metal and cooked meat lingered in the air almost constantly. For the Saiyans, this was simply life, and for me, it had become home. I was 2 years old physically, but mentally, I still remembered my previous life with startling clarity. Sometimes that frightened me, other times, it motivated me. I knew exactly what future awaited this planet. Frieza, the destruction of planet Vegeta, billions dead, the extinction of nearly the entire Saiyan race. A future I desperately wanted to change, yet one I currently lacked the power to influence. So, I waited. Because patience, that had become my greatest weapon. Every day I acted like an ordinary Saiyan toddler. I stumbled when expected. I laughed. I babbled nonsense, which was honestly difficult to keep up. I occasionally threw little tantrums whenever someone expected it. Not because I wanted to, but because children who behaved too strangely attracted attention. Attention was dangerous, especially on planet Vegeta. The fewer people who questioned me, the longer my advantage remained hidden. The front door slid shut behind my mother. "I'll be back before sunset." She knelt beside me, adjusting the shoulder piece of her battle armor. Her armor had gained several fresh scratches over the past year. Her work had become increasingly demanding in the recent months. Millie brushed my messy black hair back before gently placing a hand on my head. "Behave yourself." I gave the best innocent smile a 2-year-old could manage. She nodded in satisfaction. "Good boy." Then she stood. Outside, another armored Saiyan woman waited impatiently. "Hurry up, Millie. We've already lost enough daylight." Millie rolled her eyes. "Relax, I'm coming." The two women disappeared into the street. Mom wasn't a frontline conqueror anymore. Instead, she served in one of Planet Vegeta's beast-catching squads. It sounded mundane compared to invading worlds, but it was still dangerous. Planet Vegeta possessed countless monstrous animals. Many of them rivaled weaker Saiyan warriors in raw physical strength. Towering horned mammals, six-legged reptiles, massive flying predators, gigantic boar-like creatures that could tear armored transport vehicles apart with their tusks. Saiyans loved meat, an absurd amount of it, which meant someone had to hunt enough to feed entire districts and cities. That responsibility fell to specialized hunting squads like my mother's. She often returned smelling faintly of blood and smoke, sometimes carrying enormous cuts of meat as bonuses that barely fit through the door. Occasionally, covered in fresh claw marks. The moment she left, I dropped the childish expression. Finally, I slowly sat cross-legged in the middle of the living room. Closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Time to train. Well, as much as someone trapped inside a toddler's body could. I focused inward. Immediately, I found it. The familiar warmth resting inside me. My ki. Compared to 2 years ago, it had grown considerably. Not explosively like that brawly guy. Just, naturally, steadily, like a slowly burning fire becoming brighter every month. Good. Very good. I didn't try to force it. Trying to manipulate ki before my body matured could easily damage my control. Instead, I simply observed, listened, felt, like learning the rhythm of my own heartbeat. After several minutes, I expanded my senses. The neighborhood slowly came alive. Tiny sparks, large flames, countless signatures. There, several houses away, a mid-class warrior was sparring with someone. Their ki flared repeatedly. Across the street, someone was cooking. Beyond that, a group of children chased each other while shouting. Further away, near the city walls, dozens, no, hundreds of powerful signatures gathered together. Probably another off-world military deployment. Every single day, my range improved slightly. Every single day, my perception became sharper. One day, I'd sense entire planets. One day, maybe even galaxies. But not today. Today, success meant detecting another few dozen meters. Small victories eventually became great ones. Moments later I heard a click. The front door slid open. I sighed internally, a little bit frustrated. Right on schedule. A familiar voice filled the house. "Hey brat, you better not be sleeping again." I opened my eyes. Standing there, hands on her hips, was a girl around 8 years old. Wild black hair, small athletic frame, brown saiyan tail swaying confidently behind her. Her name was Rika, or, as I privately called her, professional menace to my mental health. She puffed out her chest proudly, smirking at me. Your mom said I have to watch you again. I stared. Quote. She frowned. What's your problem? Quote. I don't respond to her. HMPH. She huffed as she walked over before poking my forehead. You're weird, you know. You're loud, I say in my head, of course. My mom says you're smart. She continues to say, but I think you're just boring. She leaned down, eyes suddenly drifting toward my tail. Ah, there it is. Oh no, not again. My tail, unlike almost every saiyan I'd seen. Mine wasn't the natural dark brown, instead it possessed thick dark reddish fur. A deep crimson brown color. Apparently, this was due to my ancient saiyan genetics. But unfortunately, Rika found this endlessly entertaining. There it is. She grabbed it. My entire body stiffened. Got your half-breed tail. It's not a half-breed's tail, is what I would say, but I bit my tongue. No, I must remain calm. She's stronger than me, this one. For now. She then gently tugged it. He. It's so fluffy. Why's it so long, huh? She stretched it out dramatically. Maybe you're part something else. Maybe you're not a real saiyan. I glared at her hard. Very hard. If looks could vaporize people, she'd already be dust. She noticed my expression, and laughed even harder. Oh, look, he's angry. She poked my cheek. You can't even catch me, even if I let you. I wanted, with every fiber of my being, to demonstrate a perfectly executed martial arts throw. Perhaps a light kick. Nothing serious, just enough to teach boundaries. Unfortunately, reality had other plans. I was 2, she was 8, she could probably bench press me. So instead, I accepted my humiliation with all the dignity available to an adult trapped inside a toddler's body. Patience. One day, I'd become one of the strongest saiyans in existence. One day, entire armies would fear my name. One day, gods themselves might acknowledge my strength. Today, I was being bullied over my unusually fluffy tail. Life was cruel. Rika burst into another fit of laughter before giving my tail one last playful flick. He. You're funny. I don't even have to try. She skipped toward the kitchen. I'm hungry. I'm eating going your snacks. I blinked. Those are my snacks. Hey, stop it. Those are meat slices. I say, glaring at her back. I sighed. Fine. Take them. When I'm older, I'm going to remind you of this every chance I get. As if sensing my silent resentment, she looked back with a mischievous grin. What, you gonna glare at me again? Quote. I looked away. He. She disappeared into the kitchen. A few seconds later, crunch. I slowly looked toward the ceiling. Somewhere, somehow, the universe had decided that surviving Frieza, changing history, and mastering Ki wasn't enough. No, first, I had to survive my babysitter. Chapter 4. The Emperor's Shadow. The evening sun cast a crimson glow over the mid-class district. Military transports streaked overhead, their engines rumbling through the sky as another day's work came to an end. The front door to the modest house slid open with a mechanical hiss. Millie stepped inside, carrying several packs of preserved meat over one shoulder. Dust clung to her boots, and faint scratches marked her battle armor. Judging by the dried blood on one of her gauntlets, the hunt had been a difficult one. She let out a tired sigh. Quote. I'm home. Silence greeted her. Her sharp eyes immediately swept across the living room. There, curled up on the couch beneath a thick blanket, little Mello slept peacefully. Well, mostly peacefully. His tiny arms were folded across his chest. His eyebrows were tightly furrowed. Even asleep, he somehow managed to look irritated. Millie blinked. Quote. Why does he look angry while sleeping? A familiar voice answered from behind her. I don't know, but he was well behaved. Millie turned to find Rika leaning casually against the doorway, arms crossed and wearing a self-satisfied grin. I watched him the whole day and everything. Millie narrowed her eyes suspiciously. Quote. You didn't tease him again, did you? Rika's expression instantly became far too innocent. Me, I would never do such a thing. Millie raised an eyebrow. Quote dot dot dot. Really? Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. Okay, maybe a little. She scratched the back of her head with an awkward laugh. I only played with his tail. A bit. Millie couldn't help smiling. I figured. Her gaze shifted back toward the sleeping toddler. Mello unconsciously tightened his tiny grip on the blanket. A tiny frown crossed his sleeping face. Millie chuckled quietly. So that's why he looks upset. Rika burst into laughter. You should have seen his face. He kept glaring at me. He looked like he wanted to punch me. Millie laughed despite herself. He's still only 2. I know. That's what made it funny to me. Neither of them noticed that beneath the blanket, one tiny fist clenched. I'm awake, you know. I can hear everything. And one day, Rika, HMPH. One day you're going to regret every single tail joke. Maybe not physically, but I'm definitely bringing this up for the rest of your life. He remained perfectly still, continuing the illusion of sleep. Millie walked toward a nearby cabinet before retrieving a small metallic case. Rika tilted her head. Millie opened it. Inside rested a polished military pass engraved with the Saiyan royal insignia. Rika's eyes widened. Quote dot dot dot. Is that? Millie nodded. You've earned it. She handed the pass to the young girl. For helping me look after Mello. Rika carefully accepted it with both hands. Her confident grin disappeared. Instead, pure disbelief spread across her face. This is a mission authorization pass. Millie smiled. You've completed enough supervised work. So I used some connections to get the local command approved your first solo assignment. For several long seconds, Rika simply stared at the engraved pass. Her hands trembled ever so slightly. Then, a huge smile spread across her face. I finally did it. She looked up. Thank you, Millie. There was genuine gratitude in her voice. No, really, thank you. Millie folded her arms. You earned it. Don't waste the opportunity. Rika nodded enthusiastically. I won't. I'll come back stronger than everyone. She carefully clipped the pass onto her belt before practically running toward the front door. I'll tell my parents. The door slid open. She paused briefly, turning back with her usual mischievous grin. Tell the grumpy little tail boy goodbye. Then she disappeared into the street. The house grew quiet once more. Millie simply shook her head. Quote dot dot dot. She's energetic. On the couch, Mello resisted the urge to sigh. Finally, peace. Several light years away, far beyond the borders of planet Vegeta. Beyond the worlds conquered by ordinary Saiyan warriors. A shadow drifted silently through space. An enormous flagship. Dark, majestic. Its sleek hull reflected the distant stars like polished obsidian. Countless escort vessels surrounded it in perfect formation. To civilizations across the galaxy, its arrival meant only one thing. The end. Below the fleet lay a vibrant world. Its continents glittered with sprawling futuristic cities. Orbital stations circled peacefully overhead. The civilization had flourished for thousands of years. Its people believed diplomacy could solve any conflict. Today, they would learn otherwise. Inside the flagship's audience chamber, an opulent throne room had been prepared. Members of the planet's royal family stood before the visitor. Their ornate robes shimmered beneath the polished floor lights. Hovering calmly above them in his personal chair sat the ruler of one of the greatest empires in the universe. Frieza, still in his compact first form, he rested one hand lazily against his cheek while listening to the monarch speak. Quote dot dot dot. We acknowledge your military superiority. The elderly king bowed respectfully. However, our world has remained neutral for centuries. We wish to negotiate peaceful relations. Frieza smiled pleasantly. Oh, how admirable. The queen stepped forward. We have prepared gifts. Our finest technologies. Our scientific archives. Our greatest treasures. Frieza's smile never changed. How generous. The king slowly relaxed. Perhaps there was hope. Then Frieza spoke again. I accepted your audience merely out of curiosity. The room became silent. I wished to see the faces of those who believed they possessed the luxury of refusing me. The king stiffened. I beg your pardon. Frieza's crimson eyes narrowed. You delayed my fleet. You questioned my authority. And his smile widened. You bored me. One finger slowly rose. A tiny violet sphere formed at its tip. The royal guards barely had time to react. A flash of light. Silence. The king vanished. Then the queen. Then the prince standing beside her. Each disappeared instantly, erased without even enough force to damage the polished floor beneath them. The surviving attendants froze in absolute terror. Frieza sighed. What fragile creatures. He casually turned his floating chair toward the exit. Dispose of the remainder. His soldiers immediately moved forward. The great doors slowly opened. Frieza drifted outside. The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly before him. Below, the unsuspecting planet continued turning peacefully. Behind him stood two familiar figures. Zarbon folded his arms elegantly. A disappointing meeting. Beside him, Dodoria laughed harshly. They should have surrendered immediately. Frieza looked down at the blue and green world. They had their chance. He slowly extended one finger toward the planet. A point of crimson light appeared. Small, harmless. Then, it grew. The energy expanded until it resembled a miniature sun floating in the palm of space. Golden at its center, surrounded by swirling crimson plasma. Its radiance illuminated the nearby fleet. Even Zarbon instinctively looked away from its brilliance. The immense sphere hummed with restrained destruction. Frieza smiled. How unfortunate. They'll never have another opportunity. With the smallest flick of his finger, the blazing sphere descended. It accelerated rapidly, growing faster, brighter, larger, like a newborn star falling from heaven. Far below, the inhabitants noticed it almost immediately. People poured into the streets. Scientists stared upward in confusion. Children pointed excitedly toward the sky. What is that? It looks like a second sun. Across the planet, emergency alarms suddenly roared to life. Military commanders shouted desperate orders. Orbital defense stations attempted to lock onto the descending object. Their targeting systems failed. The blazing sphere continued falling. Faster, larger. The heavens themselves seemed to ignite. Its light drowned out the real sun. The atmosphere screamed as the immense mass of Ki punched through the clouds. For one final moment, the entire world stood beneath an artificial sunrise. Then, the false sun touched the planet. Light consumed everything. The continents disappeared beneath a tide of fire. Mountains dissolved. Oceans erupted into towering walls of steam. Cities vanished in an instant. From the depths of space, the once beautiful world bloomed into a colossal sphere of incandescent flame before breaking apart into countless burning fragments. Silence returned. Frieza watched the destruction with detached satisfaction. Set course. He turned his chair back toward the flagship. There are still many worlds awaiting conquest. Far across the galaxy, on planet Vegeta, millions of Saiyans continued living their lives, unaware that the same emperor who commanded their loyalty could erase entire civilizations with a gesture. And one day, his gaze would fall upon them as well.